I cut my hand. I cut it. Blood. I have to go to the hospital.
That shouldn't be too big of a deal. I mean, you have free healthcare.
That's not the point!
You're right. Okay, what hand was it?
I don't know. I'm a little dizzy right now. There's a lot of hands. It's the one on the far left.
Oh, thank God. So it's not your mouse clicking hand.
No.
Alright, cool, man. See you later. Click.
Hans, you said click out loud. Hello everyone and welcome to Late Night. I am the MarioMaster.
And I'm Huntzerz. Again.
Oh, hello. And if you haven't guessed by our cold opening, which is actually a reference from a Penny Arcade strip from like a year ago, we're doing point-and-click stuff. Hooray!
Yeah! Which MarioMaster, for any of you who actually go to his channel, has been doing a Let's Play of for a good 2 years?
Years, yeah.
Something like that. Slow speed chase kind of feel to it. Anyways, so point-and-click games. More specifically, probably point-and-click adventure games, because who knows how long it'll take for us to go over all this stuff. We usually run out of time anyways. And no one seems to want us to redo anything, so we'll just keep going.
Yet.
Yeah.
No one wants us to redo anything yet.
Yeah, yet. But we are gaining them views. Yeah. Wow,
How about them point-and-click games?
Yes, let's get to that before I sound more like an idiot. So point-and-click games have been around for a while, though, haven't they? I mean,
indeed, they've been around since, like, the 80s is when they first started to flourish, I think.
Weren't point-and-click games more or less, like, the thing that actually worked? Because, like, the controls and stuff like that didn't really exist to much of a degree back then or something like that when it came to computers?
Back then it wasn't like WASD's move or the arrow keys, right? Your old adventure games really were just like click on stuff. And there were some like keyboard integration, but it was like the mouse was the only thing people knew how to use back then. So
What is this keyboard?
Yeah.
How does it work? What are these letters that are the language that I know?
Yes. But yeah, the mouse really was your dominant instrument of control back when PC gaming was first kind of starting out. Yeah. And so that's how point-and-click worked. So
I'm guessing they came after text adventure games? Or
I'm not sure which came first, actually. That's a good... Because there are text adventures, and some of them do use the mouse occasionally. That's weird.
Huh. Don't hold me to this, but I think Leisure Suit Larry does, to some degree. No, actually it doesn't at all. It's completely text. And it's really odd.
Yeah, I've heard things about Leisure Suit Larry.
Laser Suit, totally.
Leisure Suit Larry.
Yes. That's our new game idea, guys. Totally original idea, do not steal. Yes.
We're not ripping anything off.
No, not at all.
That's how point-and-click started. And then, I think it was big in Japan, as most things are, and so it came over here with a couple of games.
You mean like
that's pretty awesome.
Big in Japan, like that new upcoming toilet game?
The urinal games are amazing. We'll get to those in a separate episode.
We can have an episode for urinal games?
We certainly are. They're probably going to flourish over here.
Oh, God. We should
pee on this thing.
We should translate We should translate the entire episode into Japanese somehow.
Oh God!
Like we should just script the entire episode and read it in Japanese and tell people to fucking translate it themselves.
Anyway,
or we could do it in Swahili and make no sense.
So LucasArts. Let me try and sway back to our topic here. LucasArts was probably the most well-known point-and-click distributor.
Really?
They did a couple Star Wars games and Indiana Jones adventure
games. Wait, Star Wars games were point-and-click?
Well, one of them was. No, it was mostly Indiana Jones. I think Star Wars was in there somewhere, but it was after Sam & Max.
Wait, he made the Indiana Jones?
LucasArts?
Yeah. Wow. That explains a lot.
So that was LucasArts, and they made Sam & Max Hit the Road.
They made Sam & Max?
Yeah, they made it originally.
Which ones did they make?
They only made Hit the Road.
The first one?
Yeah, well, the first one, yes. But it was before, well, we'll get to Telltale eventually. They made Hit the Road, which was on CD and floppy disk, that shows you how old it is.
Shit! That's pretty decent quality for being that damn old.
And then, they were going to make Sam & Max Freelance Police, which was a sequel to that. But that was when point and click started to go down as a thing, like people didn't care about it anymore, and so sales were dwindling, and so basically a bunch of studios, LucasArts and one other guy, I forget already. No, I'll go back to LucasArts. They were dropping, and then Sam & Max Freelance Police got canceled, and then a couple of the LucasArts employees were like, fuck that, I'm going to make it anyway, and so they made Telltale Games from those guys.
That's interesting. I never knew that. I never knew Telltale Games came from LucasArts.
And so that's why they have Sam & Max Save the World and all the rest of those.
So, holy shit, this episode is going to be so deadpan filling, or whatever.
Yes.
I apologize ahead of time. This episode is being filmed during a week that has stuff happening that we won't go over. Anyways, let's continue. MarioMaster, please help pick up, please.
Help.
I'm dying here.
I cut my hand, blood. Anyway.
I'm dying here.
And they became the dominant force in point and click, mostly because they had a model. Because when you knew... Okay, Telltale's got like a monthly episode thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That they do. That didn't happen originally. It used to just be like, it comes out when it comes out. People started losing interest, so it's like, I'm going to call that the Duke Nukem Forever theory.
Yay, we named a theory, even though that probably already is a theory. But anyways, continue.
So it comes out when it comes out. People started waning interest, because like, they cared about the plot and shit, but they're not going to wait like 5 years to figure out who shot this guy. And so... they started not buying sequels and whatnot, and that's probably that's what made the genre drop as a whole. And then Telltale had the monthly episode thing, and people were like, now I have a set date when things come out, and then it keeps them more interested in the story and whatnot.
You
And
know,
then
like, like you've got, but I mean, like, it's kind of interesting how Telltale seems to be the company that gets like the rights to all these different video games. But what happened with that? Wasn't there like they had Walking Dead, but now there's another Walking Dead game out or something?
Is there?
I think so. Like, there was something that I read somewhere. It was like, or just watched somewhere. Let's play Walking Dead.
We have an amazing show.
Well, no. I'm curious. I'm legitimately curious. I want to see if I'm correct or wrong. No, this is...
Let's have a look.
But I mean, Walking Dead and a lot of the other games they have, which is the point and click stuff, there's a lot that you actually have to kind of pick up on that really... I'm not trying to be rude, but you actually have to have a brain sometimes to do these point and click adventure games.
Yeah, Walking Dead is a weird case. It's not like your standard get object, use object on thing until something happens type. It's like you have to pay attention to the dialogue and whatnot, which is a separate thing in point-and-click adventure games in itself, because it's like extremely, extremely dialogue heavy. I read on Twitter that apparently, right, one episode of The Walking Dead has a script length of 2 movies.
Fuck. Aren't they only like hour-long episodes?
I don't know, but just by sheer page count and word count, it's longer than 2 movies.
Shit. That explained why Telltale Games kind of picked them up, because point and click, you can usually have more storyline here. Like, a great example is Sam and Max. There's like, you know who Sam and Max are, even if you haven't seen the cartoon. You know who Sam and Max are by the end of like the first game. You understand them. You understand their world. Mostly because they introduced like everyone.
Except cartoon exclusive villains and some guys from the comics, but you know.
Well, yeah.
But you'd probably know who they are, even if you were, like, older than we are, especially if you're older than we are, because there was a comic back in the 80s with them in it, and then, yeah.
Really?
That's how they started. They were a comic before they were a cartoon or an adventure game.
Well, let's tie this back towards the point-and-click stuff, since, dear God knows, I'm clueless. This is, again, this episode is brought to you by lazy editing. When you don't know what the fuck to do. You don't know what the fuck to do.
That's our motto. That's our motto now.
With the emphasis on fuck.
Yes.
Then you say it.
No, this is your motto.
This is our motto. Then say it. This is your motto.
Indeed.
I should edit the title card that says and make it say Late Night with MarioMaster and kind of Huntzerz.
And kind of Huntzerz for this episode.
That's
Anyway, point and click games, they're bigger than ever now. And like, we'll get to this in a bigger episode in a while, I assume. Future topics episode. But have you heard of what Double Fine is doing with their adventure game?
MarioMaster, you already know I don't.
Really? You don't? It's been all over the internet. How can you not?
Because I just tell them.
Okay. Recently, wow, I'm a genius. Recently, Double Fine, they're the guys behind Psychonauts and Costume Quest and whatnot. They have gone on Kickstarter and funded a project for their own adventure game, which harkens back to the old style of point and clicks, like Save the World. No, not Save the World. Hit the Road. Hit the Road is the one I wanted. Where it's just like you have like a dialogue box down there, and you have an inventory of items you can go through. You can click on it and shit like that. It's the old style, pixelated and whatnot. And they've actually managed to raise enough money to not only fund the game, but give out weird, awesome bonuses with it.
Neat.
Which proves that point and click is now bigger than it was before.
It's pretty big in the porn industry too.
Well,
don't ask why I know that.
That's pretty much the entire porn industry, isn't it?
What?
Exactly.
No, that's point and fap adventure games. Anyway, before I make this become...
you alienate any of our other audience members.
No, but more specifically, you actually see a lot of point-and-click adventure games in simulators. A lot of simulators have a point-and-click basis to them. Like,
that's right.
Like, I recently watched an anime when I went to Otakon, shameless plug, where the main character was a video gamer. And what he did was he was the king of conquest. He played dating simulators. Not the, like, dirty ones, but normal dating simulators, where it's like you had to get the girl to fall in love with you. That's it. Well, actually, it's not a that's it moment. That's more of a that's really fucking hard. And that is basically a point-and-click adventure game. You had limited inventory, limited options, and basically you'd either win or you'd lose. There's one way to win, and there's like 20 million ways to lose.
Were there? See, that's a staple of point-and-click too. When you die, you always died in a hilarious way, and the developers would laugh at you.
That's because point-and-clicks, usually you have to find your way down a single road. Like, there's a giant net, but there's one road, which, believe it or not, in this anime it kind of covered. Like, the way how he always solved what he had to do is suddenly his eyes would go wide, and this like map thing would appear where it shows like these billions of different option lines, and suddenly this yellow line goes down connecting every single possible option, and then he's like, I know what the solution is, and I think that's pretty damn awesome. But it kind of shows you that there's only one real direction that the game sends you. I mean, there is some variations, like, but they're never so drastic that you'll get a totally different ending.
Well, there are separate endings in some point and clicks, but they're not like story-changing different endings.
Yeah.
They're like maybe a line or two different depending on what you did.
Yeah, and follow my logic here on this. I think Mass Effect series is kind of a point and click game. Because though you shoot things and everything like that, the main decision is made by a dialogue menu. Yeah. Think about that. A dialogue menu that usually defines how your ending happens.
And characterizes you around the NPCs.
Yes. I also believe that Amnesia, to some degree, could be considered a kind of like... It has the same idea as a point-and-click game, but it's not a point-and-click. Because you have to gather the items, put the items together, do this with that, this and that, to go down a single linear path.
Well, actually... I had a segue for that, but okay. You do your deal.
Hold on. Actually, technically, that one has a lot of branching different end options. And segue?
That's called a first-person adventure game. It's like you feel alone because there's nobody there, but you have to like get a bunch of shit and do a bunch of events that happen, and then you got to fight a boss. A good example of that is Metroid Prime. Because you have to go around and you have to get all these upgrades that are scattered around the world, and then you have to go and fight a boss at the end, right?
Wait, I thought we were trying not to segue into other things.
It's not exactly another thing entirely. It's still an adventure game. You have to go and figure out where you want to go and whatnot. But if you want to drag this back to point and clicks, there are quite a bit of branching options. And then the funny thing about this is that the Telltale games, I'm going to bring this back to the dying part. The Telltale games are like one of the few point and clicks I know of where you can't die in a way. You can't like have Sam get killed and then Max is like, "Oh my god, what have you done?"
Yeah, like in the Tomb of Sam and Mac, which I'm not going to spoil what happens, but there's this one part where I saw it and I was like, wait, if I hit this, does that mean they die? So I went into it immediately thinking, he'd die, and then the game was like, oh look, the mechanism jammed, and I'm just like, really? Really? Because what's funny is then you use it later for another thing and it works perfectly fucking fine, but then the thing you use it for breaks it.
Yes.
I mean,
it's subverting expectations. You'd expect to die, but you don't, because you don't die in their games usually. I think you might have died in The Walking Dead, but that's like one out of how many games they've made now that you don't die in?
20, 30, who knows? They're all episodical. That's another thing about point and clicks. A lot of them can be episodical. Is that even a word?
And have been for a while. Episodic is what you're looking for, by the way. That's the word.
Okay.
But since Telltale rose, that's like, holy shit, 8 years ago now? Point-and-click games have been little miniature things. And they've always been kind of small, but they've been little miniature things that are split into episodes, so they can be a bigger thing at the end and sold at retail. When they're sold at retail on the Wii or DS or something, because that's where they typically are, they're all, say, the season sets for Sam and Max are like all 5 into one in a box, and that's how they're sold as full games.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what the reason for it is, because if you buy it on PC, you get the episodes, right? Because that's its native platform. They know it works there.
Yeah.
But on retail, it's the full thing because they're not used to small little bitty chunks like that.
Yeah. I mean,
so maybe it's testing the waters for a home console release. Right?
I still think an interesting point to a point-and-click adventure game would be to have like almost a sense of urgency where you actually had to solve something, and there was the possibility of death. If the possibility of death exists in the video game, people won't like strive to find the possibility of there being a death, like when there isn't one, if they don't know for sure. And though this is kind of sadistic sounding, I've actually played games to see how to kill a character, your own damn character. So point-and-click games are like a whole different playing field for those people who kind of play the games to find out how to lose so that they figure out how to win in almost a bass-ackwards sense of thinking. So, I mean, there has to be a point-and-click adventure game where you die. I'd put money on that.
Oh, the old one said you die all the time.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just Telltale that doesn't do it for some reason.
Well, Telltale is oddly in some way family-oriented without being family-oriented.
Like I said, the old ones, dying was like half of the fun, because there's like a big fucking line that you have to roll down. There's only one linear path, and the rest of it always kills you. And then in some of them, like I said, the developers themselves will program like little bitty sprites of themselves into the game, and then they laugh at you.
Don't a lot of games have like those moments where they program in themselves, and like kind of like once you've beaten the game, you get to go see this room, and when you go inside, it's everyone who made the game?
Some games have that.
Yeah, I mean, I know for a fact that an old game, one that I actually really like, has it's Custom Robo, and it has a room that when you go in, it's what is it? It's like you go in.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all the developers, and one of them is this developer who gives you the crappiest crap Robo tin can, but it's like really neat because it's in this room that through the entire game the landlady says, "Oh, it's locked, no one lives there," and then suddenly one day it's unlocked, and your character's like, "The fuck?"
I'm gonna go see who lives there, and it's the developers of the game.
There's so many of them, and it's almost creepy about the fact that they're all living there. Like, what the fuck?
That's like us in our castle. How about that?
Hey, we have a fucking castle. That's one tiny room. It's a tiny room with one bed, one closet, one sink, and one toilet.
Huh.
Actually, you know what? There might not even be a toilet. I have not seen a toilet.
They have to like go out into an outhouse that's not seen.
Off-screen outhouse.
So, maybe that's the reward then, is developer rooms at some points. Because I think I've had at least one point and click where you saw a developer room, but now it's like 3D things that do it. I know Spyro did it once.
Huh. Yeah. Well, conveniently we're nearing the end of the bend, so let's get to point and click, I guess, puzzle games that actually have a storyline. Do you know any?
I don't know if I can remember any that are just puzzlers off the top of my head. There are a few that are somewhat puzzle-oriented. Hey, here's a good idea. Let's talk about Puzzle Agent.
Is that one point and click?
It is, and it's a puzzle. It's like a logic puzzle game. You're Nelson Tethers, and he's this detective guy, right? But instead of use object on thingy, he goes and he solves logic puzzles that you have to think about, like real actual logic puzzles that if you like Googled you'd find them. But they're puzzles, and you have to solve them, and then you get like evaluated on how fast you did it or something like that. Or how many mistakes you made while trying to solve them. It's a different kind, but it's still point and click.
Neat.
And then they made a second one. I haven't played that one yet. But yeah, there are puzzle games that are like that. It's still randomly point and click with dialogue in it. There's still dialogue in it. It's not just puzzle after puzzle, but it's mainly puzzles.
Alright, well, once again, this episode has been brought to you by Lazy Editing and Deadpan Huntzerz.
Indeed, I have been the talkative MarioMaster for once. What the hell is this?
And this time, guys, we will actually be ending the show. No, we won't. Sorry, we'll see you after What the Fuck Are You On?
Spoilers.
Whoops. We'll see you after What the Fuck Are You On? Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Hello and welcome to What the Fuck Are You On? I'm your host, R. And I probably don't need to explain this show anymore. The idiots plus news equal comedy. Well, it's Olympics time again, so let's talk about swimming, shall we? A British man who shall remain unnamed, let's face it, I probably wouldn't be able to pronounce his name anyway, tried to go swimming and was rescued off the coast of France. Where was he swimming, you're probably asking? Well, New York, of all places. Why was he making the 3,594-mile trip? He said he felt like it. Yeah. Just felt up to it. No big reason, I just felt up to it. It took the French Coast Guard to tow the idiot back to shore. Hey, I'm not done swimming! Why the fuck do you think swimming the Atlantic Ocean is a good thing? Let's go from swimming to cars and kids. You know, children can be a joy and so unforgettable. Apparently this next lady makes me eat my words. Concerned parents, you might want to skip this story. Okay, I think that's my cue to leave. What do you mean I have to stay here? Damn it! Okay, meet Catalina Cresta of Arizona. And she won't get any Mother of the Year awards after putting her 5-year-old child in his car seat, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Katrina, at 19, has now been charged with child abuse and aggravated DUI after she admitted to having smoked pot. So you smoke pot with your 5-week-old child around. No wonder it's child abuse. Wow, that's child abuse right there. That's not the full story. When she was ready to go home, she strapped her child in his car seat on the roof of the 2004 Focus. Then while the child was still on the roof, she drove off. Wow, that's quite a ride home. I imagine. And that's also a very quiet ride home. Well, the child fell off the car, no surprise, and the cops found the child and the car seat unharmed. Catalina didn't notice her child wasn't in the car till she got home, and then called her friend to help her look for the child, only to find the cops beat her to the child, and later protective services took her away from her child. How do you forget your own fucking flesh and blood? Okay, this lady's driving me nuts. I better go find another story. Okay, let's move from kids to TV. This woman from Fort Colorado couldn't find her TV remote. So what's the first thing she does? Look for it? No, this lady calls the cops. And the coppers help her look for it. Hello, 911. I can't find my TV remote. I think someone stole it. Instead of arresting her, the police helped her look for it on the spot. The woman looked for a television remote, which she later found in a drawer. Yay, we found the remote! Thank you, guys! And she was later arrested. No. I wish. Okay, that's it for this week. Sorry it was short. Till next time, I'm R. Back to you, Dirty Dan and Pinhead Larry.
So I'm Dirty Dan and you're Pinhead Larry.
Who are you calling Pinhead?
Well, I'm calling you Pinhead, Pinhead. I'm Dirty Dan.
Yeah, you're dirty. Shut up. I see what you do.
Hey.
It's true. Don't lie. There are pictures.
Well, if I'm Dirty Dan, then you're Pinhead.
You could be Dirty Dan. I just want to be Patrick.
That doesn't really make much sense since your name's not Patrick.
It
You
makes
crazy
as much
man.
sense as I want it to.
How dare you make as much sense as you want to? I will pimp slap you.
Oh. God damn it.
Now make me some money, bitch.
We'll see how well this episode does.
Yes. Bye, guys. I have been Huntzerz.
And I have
Kind
been
of.
the Mario Master.
I've only been
Always.
kind of Huntzerz.
I've been always the Mario Master. That is
Actually,
my new name now.
Actually, MarioMaster, before we go, why don't you make the observation of what you said to me about last episode versus this episode? Because, I mean, it might be interesting to say that.
When he was doing movies, I was, like, never talking. And now that we've done point and clicks, I'm always talking, and he was the
Dead.
silent one this time.
The living
So
dead.
we've even did a... I feel pleased.
We even did an I feel pleased?
Did you feel pleased? That's good.
No, that's
good.
what you just said. I'm so confused. We should end it here before I have an aneurysm.
We should.
Bye, guys.
See you later.